A year ago, the people who knew me best would not fully recognize the person talking to you right now. Same face, same name, but the operating system running underneath got completely rebuilt. And in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the exact 5 habits that did it. But I have to warn you up front because it matters. Every single one of them is boring. Painfully boring. No cold plunges, no screaming 4 a.m. alarms, nothing you could ever cut into a dramatic montage. But hold on a second, because there is a 6th thing hiding underneath these 5, the thing that was quietly doing the real work the entire time, and we get back to that. First, I have to kill the lie you believe about how people actually change. Here is the lie. You think transformation is loud. You picture the big dramatic overhaul, the new routine you start on Monday with music playing in your head, the version of you that does everything differently overnight. You've probably even lived this cycle a dozen times. The Sunday night where you write the perfect plan, the burst of energy that carries you through 2 or 3 good days, and then the slow, quiet collapse by Wednesday when life gets heavy and the motivation evaporates. So you assume you failed, that you are just not disciplined enough. But nobody who actually changed did it that way, and that is the part that should give you hope. Real change is so quiet and so unglamorous that you can barely feel it happening day to day. It only becomes visible when you turn around a year later and realize the gap between who you were and who you have become. And that quiet, almost invisible quality is the first clue to why the boring habits are the only ones that ever worked, which is exactly where the first one begins. The first habit is the most boring thing imaginable. I started keeping the first 30 minutes of my morning completely empty. No phone, no screen, no scrolling, nothing. Just me, awake, doing almost nothing. It sounds like a waste of time, and that's exactly why most people will skip it. The first few mornings felt genuinely uncomfortable, my hand physically reaching for a phone that was not there. But here's what it actually does. Whatever you touch first in the morning gets the best, freshest version of your attention. And if that's your phone, you have handed the clearest part of your mind to strangers and other people's emergencies before you've had a single thought of your own. You wake up already reacting to the world instead of deciding how to meet it. Reclaiming those 30 minutes was like reclaiming the steering wheel of my own brain. And once I had a quiet mind to work with, the second habit was the one that started quietly rewiring who I believed I was. The second habit was writing 1 single sentence a day in a cheap paper notebook. Not a journal, not pages of feelings, just 1 line about that day. It is almost insultingly small, which is precisely why I never quit, because no matter how exhausted I felt, anyone can write 1 sentence.
Because here is the thing nobody tells you about that notebook. It slowly becomes a bank of evidence. Every day you show up and write that 1 line, you are stacking proof that you are a person who keeps a promise to yourself. You can physically watch the pages fill, and that visible stack starts to mean something. After 100 days, you are not relying on motivation anymore. You are looking at 100 days of hard evidence that you do what you say you will do. And that pile of proof changes how you walk through everything else. Because once you have proven you can keep 1 promise, your brain stops believing you are someone who quits, which is what made the third habit suddenly feel effortless. The third habit was a stupid little rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, I do it right now, in the moment, no delay. Reply to the message, wash the cup, send the email. It sounds like nothing, the kind of advice you scroll past without thinking. But this tiny rule quietly destroyed my procrastination. And here is why it works on a level far deeper than the task itself. Every time you delay a 2-minute thing, you teach your brain that the gap between deciding and doing is negotiable, that a decision is just a suggestion you can ignore, and those tiny delays pile up into a mountain of unfinished small things that quietly drains your energy all day. Every time you do it instantly, you close that gap and teach your brain the opposite, that when you decide, you act. No debate. Multiply that lesson across a year, and you become a fundamentally different person, the kind who does not sit rotting in the space between intention and action. And learning to live in that gap is exactly what made the fourth habit possible, even though it looked like doing absolutely nothing. The fourth habit was a daily walk with no phone, no podcast, no music, nothing in my ears. just walking, bored, alone with my own head. In a world built to never let you be bored for a single second, this felt almost unbearable at first, the constant urge to fill the silence with anything at all. But this is where the magic was hiding. Your brain does not generate its best thinking while it is being fed input. It generates it in the empty spaces, in the quiet gaps we have systematically deleted from our lives. When you never stop consuming, you never actually get to think. You just react to whatever was poured into you last. That phoneless walk became the place where I solved problems I had been stuck on for weeks, made decisions I had been avoiding, and heard my own thoughts clearly for the first time in years. The boredom was not the price of the walk. The boredom was the entire product. And the fifth habit was the most uncomfortable of all, because it forced me to look at the parts of myself I had been avoiding.
The fifth habit was tracking my bad habits, not just my good ones. Everybody loves logging their wins, the workouts, the clean meals, the early mornings, because it feels good and makes you look like the person you want to be. Almost nobody is willing to write down the scrolling, the wasted hours, the things they do quietly at night and feel ashamed of in the morning. But this one matters more than all the good habit tracking combined. And here is the brutal reason. You cannot change a single thing you refuse to acknowledge. The things you hide from yourself are the things that quietly run your life. The moment I started writing down the ugly stuff in plain ink, it lost its hiding place. It could no longer pretend to be smaller than it was, no longer disguise itself as just this once. Naming it honestly, on paper, was the first real step to taking control back from it. And it was while doing this fifth habit, staring at a full year of my own honest evidence, the good and the ugly, side by side, that I finally understood the thing I told you to hold on for. So here is the sixth thing, the one hiding underneath all five. None of these habits actually transformed me. Read that again, because it is the whole point. Waking up early did not change my life. The notebook did not change my life. The walks, the 2-minute rule, the tracking, none of them were the actual cause. They were just the delivery system for the one thing that did change everything: self-trust. Across a year of doing boring things I said I would do, on the good days and the bad days, when I felt like it, and especially when I did not, I slowly became a person who believes their own word. And that single shift, the quiet knowledge that I keep promises to myself, is what bleeds into every corner of your life. When you trust yourself, you stop being afraid of hard things because you know you will follow through. You stop abandoning yourself the moment things get difficult. The habits were never the transformation. They were the reps that built the muscle of trusting yourself. And that muscle is what makes you unrecognizable. And now, the part that ties the whole thing together. The reason I kept saying the word boring, like it mattered. Because it does. The habits had to be boring. That was not a flaw. It was the entire mechanism. Exciting habits feel incredible for about 4 days, and then they die. Because nothing intense survives contact with a normal, stressful week, a bad night of sleep, a moment where life punches you in the face. The dramatic routine is built for the version of you that feels amazing, and that version does not show up most days. Boring habits survive precisely because they ask so little of you that you can do them on your worst day, your saddest day, your most exhausted day, the days that actually decide who you become. And the only thing that ever compounds into a year of change is the thing you can repeat without needing motivation. Exciting changes you, briefly. Boring rebuilds you, permanently. The people who become unrecognizable are never the ones chasing the dramatic overhaul. They are the ones quietly doing small, dull, repeatable things long enough for the math to turn into a miracle. So that is everything, collapsed into one truth. You will not be saved by an exciting new routine. You will be rebuilt by a few boring ones you actually keep. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Stop waiting for the dramatic version, and start stacking evidence so small it feels pointless, because pointless is the only thing sustainable enough to last a year. Pick one of these 5, just one, the most boring one you can stand, and do it tomorrow and the day after that. The transformation was never going to feel like a transformation while it was happening. It was always going to feel like nothing, right up until the day you look back and cannot find the person you used to be. And the only real question left is the one that decides your entire next year, starting today. Are you going to keep waiting for the loud, exciting version of change that never comes? Or are you finally going to do the quiet, boring thing tonight and let it slowly turn you into someone you do not yet recognize?